The meeting room was silent except for the soft hum of the holographic display. 12 beings from different worlds sat around the curved table, their faces showing worry and confusion. Admiral Kresh of the Galactic Reconnaissance Council looked at the empty spaces on the star map where red dots had once blinked. 17 ships, he said, his voice heavy with concern. 17 of our best scouts, and not one has returned from the Sol system. The beings around the table shifted uncomfortably. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked almost human except for their strange colored skin or extra eyes. But they all shared the same worried expression. Perhaps they were destroyed, suggested Commander Yilla, her blue skin shimmering under the lights. This species might have weapons we don't know about. No debris, replied Admiral Kresh. No, energy signatures from battles, no distress calls. They simply vanish when they get close to the third planet. The planet in question appeared on the holographic display. It was mostly blue and green, with white swirls of clouds. It looked peaceful, even beautiful, but it had become the graveyard of their finest scouts. Dr. Zen, a tall being with 4 arms, pulled up data files with quick movements. The humans of Earth appear primitive, he said. They've barely left their own planet. Their weapons are simple. Their technology is basic compared to ours. Then where are our ships? Admiral Kresh asked. The question hung in the air like a bad smell. For 3 months, the Galactic Reconnaissance Council had been sending their best people to study Earth. The planet had been marked for possible contact after long-range sensors detected interesting activity. The humans were advancing quickly, maybe too quickly. The Council wanted to know if they posed a threat, but every scout sent to watch them had disappeared. Scout Ship Whisper was our best, said Commander Yilla. Captain Drace had never failed. A mission. His ship could hide from anything. But 3 days after entering Earth's solar system, nothing. Not even an echo on our deep space sensors. Admiral Kresh nodded grimly. Captain Drace had been his student years ago. The young pilot could make his ship invisible to every known type of scanner. He could slip past entire fleets without being seen. If something had happened to him, it was serious. What about Scout Ship Silent Wing? Asked Dr. Zen. Gone, replied another council member, a reptilian being called Sector Commander Thal. Lieutenant Vex was supposed to report back 2 weeks ago. Her ship was designed for long-range observation. She could watch a planet from the edge of its solar system and count the leaves on trees. But she got closer to Earth and then... He made a gesture with his clawed hand that meant vanished. The holographic display showed the timeline of disappearances. It was getting worse. At first, they had lost 1 ship every few weeks. Now, scouts were vanishing every few days. Maybe they were captured, suggested a small, furry being called Science Officer Kip. The humans might be more advanced than we think. Captured how? Admiral Kresh asked. Our ships have the best cloaking technology in the galaxy. They can't be seen, heard, or detected by any known method. And our scouts are trained to avoid contact at all costs. Dr. Zen brought up more data. I've studied human technology carefully. They have basic radio waves, simple computers, and primitive space vehicles. They can barely reach their own moon. How could they catch ships that can travel between stars? Commander Yilla leaned forward. What if it's not their technology? What if it's something else? Like what? Admiral Kresh asked. I don't know, she admitted. But 17 ships don't just disappear. Our people don't just give up and go home without telling us. Something is happening on that planet. The council members looked at each other nervously. In all their years of exploring the galaxy, they had never encountered anything like this. They had met hostile species that fought them. They had found dangerous planets with deadly environments. They had even discovered ancient technologies that could destroy entire star systems. But they had never found anything that could make their best scouts simply vanish without a trace. What do we know about the last transmissions? Admiral Kresh asked. Dr. Zen pulled up audio files. Most scouts report normal observations at first. They describe human cities, technology, and behavior. Patterns. But then the reports become strange. Strange how? Listen to this, Dr. Zen said, playing a recording. The voice belonged to Captain Drace, speaking in the common galactic language. Day 7 of observation. Human subjects continue to show unusual behavior patterns. They create art with no practical purpose. They help strangers for no reward. They keep small animals as companions that serve no function. This behavior is interesting. I need to observe more closely. The recording ended there. That was his last transmission, Dr. Zen said. Commander Yilla frowned. Interesting? Drace never called anything interesting. He was the most serious scout in the fleet. Another recording began playing. This time it was Lieutenant Vex. The humans have something called music. They make organized sounds that serve no survival purpose, but it affects their emotional states. I've been listening to their radio transmissions for hours. There's something about these patterns that I can't explain it. I need to understand this better. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Lieutenant Vex had been known for her cold, scientific approach to everything. She never cared about alien cultures beyond what was needed for her reports. Play the last one, Admiral Kresh said quietly. The final recording was from Scout Captain Nix, who had disappeared just a week ago. The humans have a concept they call hope. Even when facing impossible odds, they continue trying. I've watched them help each other during disasters. I've seen them risk their lives for people they don't even know. This is not logical behavior, but somehow, it makes sense. I think I understand why our people haven't returned. I think they found something here that we don't have back home. The recording ended with the sound of Scout Captain Nix laughing, which was disturbing because his species didn't normally laugh. Admiral Kresh turned off the display. We have a problem. Either the humans have some kind of weapon that captures our people without a fight, or what? Commander Yilla asked. Or our scouts don't want to come home. The meeting room fell silent again. The idea was almost too strange to consider. Galactic scouts were the most loyal people in the fleet. They were trained from childhood to serve the Council and follow orders without question. The idea that they would abandon their duties was unthinkable, but the evidence was clear. 17 ships had gone to Earth, and 17 ships had not returned. What do we do? Dr. Zen asked. Admiral Kresh looked at the image of Earth on the display. The little blue planet seemed harmless, but it had swallowed their best people without a trace. We send one more mission, he decided. But this time we send a full battle group. Armed ships, experienced commanders, and strict orders to avoid direct observation of the planet. We'll watch from a safe distance and try to figure out what happened to our people. And if this mission disappears too? Commander Yilla asked. Admiral Kresh was quiet for a long moment. Then we declare Earth a forbidden zone and warn all galactic civilizations to stay away. But even as he said it, he wondered if it was already too late. Earth had taken 17 of their best people. Maybe it was hungry for more. Commander Zefix checked his instruments for the 10th time as his battle group approached the edge of the Sol system. 3 heavy cruisers and 2 scout ships made up the most powerful reconnaissance force the Galactic Council had ever sent to observe a single planet. Keep us at maximum sensor range, he ordered his crew. I want to know everything about this system before we get close to that planet. His navigator, Lieutenant Kess, nodded nervously. Sir, we're detecting the outer planets now. Gas giants, asteroid belts, normal stellar formation. Nothing unusual. What about artificial signatures? Zefix asked. Some basic radio transmissions from the third planet. Simple satellite networks. A few primitive space stations. Nothing that could threaten our ships. Zefix frowned. The reports made Earth sound harmless, but 17 ships didn't just disappear without reason. He had known Captain Drace personally. The man was careful, professional, and absolutely loyal to the Council. If something had happened to him, it was serious. Sir, called out his sensor operator, a young Valari named Tech, Specialist Mora. "I'm picking up energy signatures." "From Earth?" "No, sir. From space around Earth. Multiple signatures, very faint. They match our missing scout ships." Zephyx felt his blood run cold. "Are they moving?" "Negative. The signatures are stationary. They appear to be landed." "Landed where?" Mora worked frantically at her controls. "On Earth's surface. All of them. Sir, I'm reading at least 15 of our missing ships scattered across the planet's continents." The bridge crew looked at each other with worry and confusion. Zephyx had expected to find wreckage in space, or maybe signs of a battle. He had not expected to find their invisible scout ship sitting openly on an alien planet. "Are their cloaking systems active?" he asked. "That's the strange part, sir. I can detect them because their cloaking systems are completely offline. The ships are just sitting there, visible to anyone with basic sensors." Zephyx stood up from his command chair. "Visible? Our most advanced stealth ships are sitting on a primitive planet where anyone can see them?" "Yes, sir. And sir, the humans know they're there." "What do you mean?" Mora's voice was shaky. "I'm detecting human activity around the ships. Vehicles, people, construction. It looks like the humans are studying them." This was getting worse by the minute. Zephyx had come expecting to find destroyed ships or captured crews. Instead, he found their most secret technology sitting in the open on a primitive planet. "Can you locate the crews?" he asked. "I'm trying, sir, but our people's biosignatures are scattered all over the planet. They're not with their ships." "Scattered how?" "They appear to be in human cities, sir, mixed in with the local population." Zephyx sat down heavily. This was not what he had expected at all. "Are they prisoners?" Mora checked her readings again. "I don't think so, sir. Their biosigns show normal health, normal stress levels. They don't appear to be in danger." The implications were staggering. 17 crews of highly trained galactic scouts were apparently living freely among humans, while their ships sat unguarded on the planet's surface. "Take us closer," Zephyx ordered, "but keep us hidden and ready to jump to light speed if needed." As they moved deeper into the Sol system, more details became clear. The human planet was busy with activity. Thousands of aircraft moved through the atmosphere, ships crossed the oceans, cities sparkled with lights even on the dark side of the planet. "Sir," Lieutenant Kess said, "I'm picking up something else. Human technology signatures that match our ships." "Impossible. Human technology is too primitive to understand our systems." "That's what I thought too, sir. But look at this." The main screen showed a human facility surrounded by tall fences and guard towers. In the center sat scout ship Whisper, Captain Drace's vessel. But around it were buildings full of equipment that gave off energy signatures very similar to galactic technology. "They're reverse engineering our ships," Zephyx said in disbelief. "It gets worse, sir," Mora added. "I'm detecting similar facilities on 3 other continents. The humans have separated our ships and are studying them at different locations." "How long have they been doing this?" "Based on the construction around the ships, I'd say at least 2 months. Maybe longer." Zephyx tried to process what he was seeing. The humans had somehow captured or acquired 17 of the galaxy's most advanced scout ships. They had disabled the cloaking systems, separated the vessels, and were systematically studying the technology. And somehow, the crews were not only alive, but living freely among the human population. "Can you get a lock on any of our people?" he asked. Mora worked at her controls. "I have a biosignature that matches Captain Drace. He's in a human city called San Francisco, about 50 kilometers from where his ship is being studied." "What's he doing there?" "Unknown, sir, but his stress levels are normal, and he's moving around freely. He doesn't appear to be a prisoner." This was the most confusing situation Zephyx had ever encountered. In his 20 years of service, he had seen hostile aliens, dangerous planets, and impossible space phenomena. But he had never seen anything like this. Try to establish communication with Captain Drace, he ordered. His communications officer, Chief Rawl, worked at his station. I'm sending a coded message on his personal frequency. Standard recall protocol. They waited. Minutes passed without a response. Send it again, Zephyx said. Still nothing. Sir, Chief Rawl said slowly, I'm receiving a response, but it's not on our standard frequencies. It's coming through human communication networks. Human networks? How would he access those? I don't know, sir. But the message is definitely from Captain Drace. It's encrypted with his personal codes. Put it through. The message appeared on Zephyx's screen. It was short and written in the common galactic language, but something about it felt different. Commander, Zephyx, I know you're out there. Don't try to contact me through official channels again. The humans monitor their communication networks, but they're not hostile. If you want to talk, come down to the planet. But come alone, and come peacefully. Things are not what they seem here. The mission parameters have changed. Drace. Zephyx read the message twice. It sounded like Drace, but something was wrong. The tone was too casual, too friendly. Captain Drace had always been formal and strictly professional. Sir, Mora said, I'm picking up another message. This one's from Lieutenant Vex. The second message was even stranger. Zephyx, you old warrior, welcome to Sol System. I hope you brought an open mind because you're going to need it. Earth is not what we expected. The humans are amazing. I know that sounds crazy, but trust me on this. If you want to understand what happened to us, you need to experience it yourself. Fair warning, though, once you see what I've seen, you might not want to go back to the old way of doing things. Vex Zephyx stared at the screen. Lieutenant Vex had never called him by his first name. She had never used exclamation points in her reports, and she had certainly never suggested that anyone might not want to return to duty. Sir, Chief Rawl said nervously, I'm receiving messages from 12 other missing crew members. They all have similar tones. Show me. One by one, the messages appeared. Each one was from a different missing scout, and each one sounded wrong in the same way. They were too casual, too friendly, too excited about their experiences on Earth. Something has happened to our people, Zephyx said quietly. Sir, Lieutenant Kess asked, these messages, they don't sound like our scouts. They sound like different people entirely. You think the humans have done something to them? Mind control? Chemical alteration? Zephyx considered the possibilities. Maybe, or maybe something else. Something we don't understand yet. He looked at the image of Earth on the main screen. The planet looked so peaceful, so normal. But it had somehow changed. 17 of his best people into strangers who wrote friendly messages and refused to return to duty. Sir, Mora said, I'm detecting movement from the planet's surface. A small craft is heading toward us. Human? No, sir. It's one of our shuttles from Scout Ship Silent Wing. Lieutenant Vex's personal transport. Zephyx's hands tightened on his chair arms. Are there weapons on that shuttle? Basic defensive systems only. But, sir, Lieutenant Vex is piloting it herself. I can confirm her biosignature. She's coming here? Yes, sir, and she's broadcasting a message asking for permission to come aboard. Zephyx looked around his bridge. His crew was nervous and confused. They had come to Earth expecting to find answers about their missing comrades. Instead, they had found those comrades living freely on the planet and apparently happy to be there. Now, one of them was coming to visit. Should we let her aboard, sir? Lieutenant Kess asked. Zephyx thought about it. Meeting with Lieutenant Vex might give him answers, but it might also expose his crew to whatever had changed the other scouts. Raise shields and prepare security teams, he decided. We'll let her come aboard, but we'll be careful about it. As the shuttle approached, Zephyx wondered what he would find when he met Lieutenant Vex again. Would she still be the cold, professional scout he remembered? Or would she be another stranger wearing a familiar face? Either way, he was about to find out what Earth had done to his people. Lieutenant Vex stepped off her shuttle and onto the deck of Commander Zephyx's ship with a smile on her face. That was the first thing that worried him. In all the years he had known her, Zephyx had never seen Vex smile. She was known throughout the fleet as someone who approached every situation with cold logic and professional distance. But this Vex looked relaxed, almost happy. She wore her standard uniform, but something about the way she carried herself was different. She moved with a casual confidence that seemed foreign to the rigid military bearing he remembered. "Commander Zephyx," she said warmly, extending her hand in what Zephyx recognized as a human gesture. "It's good to see you again." Zephyx did not take her hand. Instead, he studied her carefully. She looked healthy and unharmed. Her bio readings showed no signs of mind control or chemical influence. But the person standing before him felt like a stranger. "Lieutenant Vex," he said formally. "Report your status." Her smile widened. "Still as serious as ever, I see. Relax, Zephyx. We're not in immediate danger here." "That is Commander Zephyx, Lieutenant, and I will determine our danger level." "Of course," she said, but her tone remained friendly rather than respectful. "May I suggest we talk somewhere private? What I have to tell you is going to sound impossible." Zephyx led her to a secure conference room with 2 security guards positioned outside. His senior staff joined them, all looking nervous and confused. "Before we begin," Zephyx said, "I need to verify your identity. Please provide your service number and authorization codes." Vex rattled off the numbers without hesitation. They were correct, matching her official records exactly, but when she finished, she laughed softly. "Zephyx, I'm still me. I'm just better." "Explain what you mean by better." She leaned back, in her chair, a casual posture that the old Vex never would have taken during a formal briefing. "I mean, I understand things now that I didn't understand before, about life, about purpose, about what really matters. Your purpose is to serve the Galactic Council and complete your assigned missions. Is it?" she asked. "Why? Because someone told me it was when I was young? Because it's what my people have always done?" Tech specialist Mora shifted uncomfortably. "Lieutenant, you're talking about abandoning your duties." "No," Vex said, turning to her with that same warm expression. "I'm talking about finding better duties, more meaningful ones." Commander Zephyx felt a chill run down his spine. This conversation was exactly what he had feared. "Lieutenant Vex, you will explain what happened to you and the other scouts, and you will explain it now." "Of course," she said. "But first, let me ask you something. In all your years of service, have you ever created anything beautiful?" "What?" "Beautiful. Something that exists purely because it brings joy or wonder to others. Something that serves no tactical or strategic purpose." Zephyx stared at her. "That is not relevant to our mission, isn't it? The humans create beautiful things every day. They make music, art, stories. They help strangers for no reward. They risk their lives to save people they don't even know. And you know what I discovered? It feels amazing to be part of that." Lieutenant Kess leaned forward. "Vex, what exactly have you been doing on Earth?" "Learning," she said simply. "At first I followed standard protocols. I observed from a distance, documented their technology, and social structures, prepared my reports. But then something strange happened." "What?" "I started listening to their music. Just to understand their communication patterns, you understand. But the more I listened, the more I realized that they were doing something we never learned how to do. Which is? They were expressing emotions in ways that made other people feel those same emotions. Not through chemicals or technology, but through organized sound patterns. It was the most elegant form of communication I had ever encountered." Zephyx was getting more worried by the minute. "So you became distracted from your mission?" "Not distracted. Enlightened. I realized that my mission was too small." "Too small?" "We came here to study their technology and assess them as a potential threat. But we missed the real discovery. These humans have figured out how to live in a way that makes each other better. They have something we lost somewhere in our evolution toward galactic civilization. Tech specialist Mora looked confused. What did we lose? Joy, Vex said simply. When was the last time any of you felt genuine happiness? Not satisfaction from completing a mission, not pride from following orders correctly. Real joy, the kind that makes you want to share it with others. The bridge crew exchanged glances. None of them could answer that question. I've been on Earth for 2 months, Vex continued. I've learned to play something called a piano. I've helped human children learn science. I've watched movies that made me laugh and cry. I've eaten food that was prepared not just for nutrition but for pleasure. And you know what? I've been happier than I've ever been in my entire life. Happiness is not the purpose of military service, Zephyx said firmly. Why not? She asked. Why shouldn't we be happy while we serve? Why shouldn't we enjoy our lives while we protect others? Because emotions compromise judgment and efficiency. Do they? I've been more creative, more innovative, and more productive in the last 2 months than I was in the previous 5 years of service. The humans taught me that happiness doesn't weaken you. It energizes you. Lieutenant Kess spoke up nervously. What about the other scouts? What happened to them? The same thing that happened to me. We discovered that there's more to existence than following orders and filing reports. Captain Drace is working with human engineers to develop new propulsion systems. Scout Commander Nix is helping their doctors cure diseases. Lieutenant Thek is teaching their children about star navigation. They're sharing galactic technology with primitives? Zephyx asked, horrified. They're sharing knowledge with friends, Vex corrected. And the humans are sharing their knowledge in return. Did you know they've developed over 6,000 different languages? Each one evolved to express different aspects of human experience. They've created millions of different art forms, music styles, and storytelling traditions. Their diversity is incredible. Diversity creates inefficiency, Zephyx stated. Does it? Or does it create resilience and innovation? The humans have survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, diseases, and wars. They've done it not by creating a single perfect system, but by developing thousands of different approaches to every challenge. Mora looked thoughtful. That does sound useful from a strategic perspective. It's more than useful, Vex said. It's revolutionary. We've spent centuries creating galactic civilization by making everyone follow the same rules, use the same technology, think the same way. The humans proved that you can create advanced civilization by encouraging everyone to be different. Zephyx stood up abruptly. Enough. Lieutenant Vex, you are suffering from some form of mental contamination. You will return to your duties immediately. I'm not contaminated, Zephyx. I'm awake. For the first time in my life, I'm thinking for myself instead of just following programming. Your duty is your programming. Without it, you're just another selfish individual. And what's wrong with that? She asked. What's wrong with individuals pursuing their own happiness as long as they don't hurt others? It leads to chaos and inefficiency. Does it? The humans have reached spaceflight, cured diseases, and created global communication networks. They've done it while maintaining thousands of different cultures, governments, and belief systems. That doesn't sound inefficient. To me, Lieutenant Kess looked back and forth between them. Vex, are you saying you won't return to duty? I'm saying I've found better duties, more important ones. The humans are planning to explore their solar system. They want to reach other stars eventually. But they're doing it wrong, using primitive chemical rockets and basic computers. So imagine what they could accomplish with our technology. Imagine what we could accomplish if we learned their approaches to innovation and cooperation. Zephyx felt like he was losing control of the situation. You're talking about abandoning galactic civilization. No, I'm talking about improving it. The humans have something we need, and we have something they need. Instead of studying them like laboratory specimens, we could work with them as partners. The Council would never approve such contact. Then maybe the Council is wrong. The Words hung in the air like a bomb. No one in the room had ever heard a galactic officer openly question the Council's authority. "Lieutenant Vex," Zephyx said slowly, "you are hereby relieved of duty and ordered to submit to medical examination for mental contamination." She smiled sadly. "Zephyx, you can't force me to come back. None of the other scouts are prisoners on Earth. We're free to leave any time we want." "Then why don't you?" "Because we found something better than what we left behind, and because the humans need our help to reach their potential." She stood up and moved toward the door. "I'm going back to Earth now. You're welcome to visit if you want to understand what we've discovered, but if you try to force any of us to return, you'll find that the humans can be very protective of their friends. Are you threatening us?" "I'm warning you. The humans don't like bullies, and they're very good at dealing with them." With that, she left the conference room and walked back to her shuttle. Zephyx and his crew watched through the viewports as she departed. Commander Zephyx paced his quarters like a caged animal, trying to make sense of what he had witnessed. 3 days had passed since his meeting with Lieutenant Vex, and he still couldn't understand what had happened to her. She had seemed so confident, so happy, so completely changed from the cold professional he remembered. His crew was acting strangely, too. Ever since Vex's visit, they had been asking questions about Earth, about humans, about the missing scouts. Questions they never would have asked before. A soft chime interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Tech specialist Mora entered, carrying a datapad and looking nervous. "Sir, I've been analyzing the human transmissions we've intercepted. I think you should see this." "What kind of transmissions?" "Everything, sir. Their entertainment broadcasts, news reports, communication networks, even their music. I wanted to understand what Lieutenant Vex meant about human culture." Zephyx frowned. "That wasn't part of your assigned duties." "I know, sir. But after talking with her, I was curious, and what I found is remarkable." She activated her datapad, and sounds filled the room. It was human music, but unlike anything in galactic databases. The melodies were complex and emotional, with instruments working together to create something beautiful. "This is called a symphony," Mora explained. "Humans created it 300 years ago, but they still perform it today. Listen to how the different instruments support each other." Despite himself, Zephyx found himself paying attention. The music was unlike the efficient communication tones used throughout galactic civilization. It served no practical purpose, but it was somehow compelling. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked. "Because I wanted to understand how humans think. And, sir, I think Lieutenant Vex was right about something. Humans don't just survive, they flourish. They create things of beauty for no reason except that beauty makes them happy." "Happiness is not a strategic advantage, isn't it?" Mora pulled up more data. "Look at their innovation rates. Humans advance technologically faster than any species we've encountered. They solve problems in ways we never consider. And, sir, they do it because they enjoy solving problems." "Get to the point, specialist." "The point is that they might be more advanced than us in ways we don't measure. We focus on efficiency, standardization, and control. They focus on creativity, diversity, and growth." Zephyx was about to respond when his communications officer's voice came over the intercom. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's directed specifically at us." "From Lieutenant Vex?" "No, sir. It's coming from multiple sources. All of our missing personnel are transmitting together." Zephyx hurried to the bridge, with Mora following. The main screen showed a split image with 17 different faces, all of their missing scouts. But they looked different somehow. Relaxed, happy, more alive than he had ever seen them. "Commander Zephyx," said Captain Drace, speaking for the group. "We know you're watching us, and we know you're trying to decide what to do. We wanted to talk to you before you make any decisions you might regret." "Captain Drace," Zephyx said, formally. "You and your people are in violation of your orders. Return to your ships immediately." Drace smiled, which was disturbing coming from the most serious officer Zephix had ever known. "We're not coming back, Zephix. None of us are. We've found something here that's worth more than our old duties." "You found a primitive planet with no strategic value." "We've found hope," said Lieutenant Vex, appearing on screen beside Drace. "We found a species that proves civilization doesn't have to be cold and efficient. It can be warm and creative and still be incredibly successful." Another voice joined in. Scout Commander Nix, whose species rarely showed emotion, was actually laughing. "Zephix, you have to see this place to believe it. The humans have a concept called fun. They do things purely because those things make them happy. And it works. It actually makes them more productive, more innovative, more cooperative. Fun is inefficient," Zephix stated. "Is it?" asked Lieutenant Thek from another part of the screen. "I've been working with human scientists for a month. In that time, we've made advances in physics that would have taken the Council decades to achieve. We did it because we were enjoying ourselves, not because we were following procedures." Zephix felt his world shifting beneath him. These were his best people, his most trusted officers, and they were all saying the same impossible thing. That happiness and creativity were more valuable than duty and efficiency. "What do you want from me?" he asked. "Join us," said Captain Drace simply. "Come down to Earth, see what we've seen, experience what we've experienced, then make your choice. I have my duties." "Do you?" asked Vex. "Or do you have programming that you've never questioned? When was the last time you chose to do something because you wanted to do it, not because you were ordered to?" Zephix couldn't answer that question. In his 40 years of life, he had always done what was expected of him, what was required of him, what was ordered of him. The idea of doing something simply because he wanted to seemed foreign. "I can't abandon my crew," he said. "Bring them with you," suggested Scout Commander Nix. "The humans are curious about other species. They'd welcome a chance to learn from you. And share our technology with primitives? Share knowledge with friends," corrected Lieutenant Thek. "The humans have technology we've never developed. Social technologies, creative technologies, ways of organizing society that we never imagined." Mora stepped closer to the communications station. "What kind of social technologies?" "Democracy," said Captain Drace. "A system where people choose their own leaders. The humans have dozens of different governmental systems, and they're constantly experimenting with new ones." "That sounds chaotic," said Lieutenant Kess. "It is chaotic," agreed Vex. "But it's also adaptive. When one system stops working, they try another. When they face new challenges, they develop new solutions. They don't have a single galactic authority making all decisions for everyone." "Without central authority, how do they maintain order?" asked Zephix. "They don't maintain order," laughed Scout Commander Nix. "They maintain freedom, and it turns out that free people are incredibly good at solving problems." The transmission continued for another hour, with each of the missing scouts describing their experiences on Earth. They talked about human music, art, literature, science, and philosophy. They described a species that had developed thousands of different ways to live, think, and create. But most importantly, they talked about how happy they had become. When the transmission ended, Zephix's bridge was quiet. His crew members looked thoughtful, confused, and curious. For the first time in their careers, they were hearing about a way of life that sounded appealing rather than just efficient. "Sir," said Lieutenant Kess quietly, "what if they're right?" "Right about what?" "About there being a better way to live. What if happiness and creativity really do make people more effective?" Zephix looked around his bridge. His crew had served faithfully for years, following orders and completing missions. But he realized he had never seen any of them look truly happy. They were satisfied when they performed well, but that was different from joy. "Tech Specialist Mora," he said slowly. "In your analysis of human culture, what did you conclude?" "Sir," I concluded that humans have achieved something remarkable. They've created a civilization that values individual happiness while still maintaining cooperation and progress. It shouldn't work, but it does. And you think this is superior to galactic civilization? Mora hesitated. I think it's worth studying, sir, at minimum. Zephyx made a decision that surprised even himself. Lieutenant Kess, prepare a shuttle. I'm going down to Earth. Sir, if 17 of our best people have been changed by this planet, I need to understand how. I'm going to see what they've seen. Should we prepare security teams? Asked Kess. No. If the humans wanted to harm us, they would have done it already. I'm going down alone and unarmed. Sir, that violates standard protocols. Maybe it's time to violate some protocols, Zephyx said, surprising himself again. Maybe it's time to try something different. As he prepared for his journey to Earth's surface, Zephyx wondered what he would find there. Would he discover that his people had been corrupted or contaminated? Or would he find that they had simply discovered a better way to live? Either way, he was about to find out what had made 17 loyal galactic scouts choose happiness over duty, and for the first time in his life, he was curious rather than afraid about the answer. The shuttle bay doors opened, and Commander Zephyx began his descent toward the blue and green planet that had already changed so many lives. In a few hours, he would learn whether it would change his as well. Commander Zephyx's shuttle touched down in a field outside a human city called Denver. The landing coordinates had been provided by Captain Drace, who was waiting nearby with 2 humans and what appeared to be a small welcoming committee of former galactic scouts. As Zephyx stepped out of his shuttle, he was struck by the immediate sensory difference. Earth's air was filled with scents he couldn't identify, sounds that seemed to have no tactical purpose, and colors that were more vibrant than the sterile environments of galactic ships. "Welcome to Earth," said Captain Drace, approaching with that same unsettling smile. "Commander, I'd like you to meet Dr. Sarah Chen and Professor Marcus Johnson. They're the humans who have been helping us understand your people's situation." The humans stepped forward without fear, extending their hands in the greeting gesture Zephyx had seen Vex use. Dr. Chen was small with dark hair and intelligent eyes. Professor Johnson was tall with gray hair and laugh lines around his eyes. "It's an honor to meet you, Commander," Dr. Chen said. "Your people have taught us so much about the galaxy." "And you've corrupted them," Zephyx replied stiffly. Professor Johnson laughed, which startled Zephyx. "Corrupted? Is that what you think happened?" "My officers abandoned their duties to play with primitive technology and social systems." "If that's not corruption, what is it?" "Growth," said Dr. Chen simply. "Your people didn't abandon anything. They expanded their understanding of what's possible." Captain Drace gestured toward a nearby vehicle. "Come with us, Zephyx. Let us show you what we've learned." The vehicle was unlike any galactic transport. It had windows that let in natural light, seats that seemed designed for comfort rather than efficiency, and it played music during the journey. Zephyx found himself listening to the sounds despite his intention to ignore them. "This music," he said finally. "What purpose does it serve?" "It makes the journey more pleasant," explained Dr. Chen. Humans discovered long ago that life is more enjoyable when you add beauty to functional activities. But it serves no practical function, doesn't it? Asked Professor Johnson. Music reduces stress, improves mood, and helps people think more creatively. That sounds pretty practical to me. They drove through the human city, and Zephyx was amazed by what he saw. The buildings were not just functional structures, but were designed with aesthetic considerations. Humans had planted trees and flowers along the streets for no apparent reason except that they looked nice. Children played in parks that served no purpose except recreation. "This is inefficient," Zephyx observed. "Is it?" asked Captain Drace. "Look closer. Those children playing in the park are learning cooperation, strategy, and problem-solving. The trees and flowers improve air quality and mental health. The aesthetic buildings make people happier to work in them, which increases productivity. They stopped at a large building that hummed with activity. Inside, Zephyx saw something that challenged everything he thought he knew about efficient organization. Humans and former Galactic Scouts worked together in small groups, tackling various projects. But instead of following rigid hierarchies and protocols, they seemed to be collaborating freely. "This is chaos," Zephyx said. "This is innovation," corrected Lieutenant Vex, approaching from a workstation where she had been working with 3 humans on some kind of device. "We're developing new propulsion systems by combining galactic technology with human creativity." "Show him the progress reports," suggested Dr. Chen. Vex pulled up holographic displays that made Zephyx's eyes widen. In 2 months, this chaotic group had made advances that would have taken galactic research teams years to achieve. "How is this possible?" he asked. "Because we're enjoying ourselves," said Scout Commander Nix, joining the group. "When you love what you're doing, you work harder and think more creatively. Love is an inefficient emotion." "Is it?" A new voice spoke from behind him. Zephyx turned to see Lieutenant Thek, who had always been the most logical member of his crew. "Commander, I've been working with human doctors to cure diseases. In the past month, we've made breakthroughs that have saved thousands of lives. I've never felt more satisfied with my work." "Satisfaction and love are different things." "Are they?" "I love this work because it helps people. The satisfaction comes from the love, not the other way around." Zephyx looked around the room again. Former Galactic Scouts were working with obvious enthusiasm on projects that clearly mattered to them. The humans treated them as equals and friends, not as superior beings or alien specimens. "I don't understand," he said finally. Dr. Chen smiled gently. "Commander, may I ask you a personal question?" "What?" "In your 40 years of life, have you ever done anything purely because it made you happy?" The question hit him like a physical blow. Zephyx thought back through his entire existence, trying to remember a single moment when he had acted based on his own desires rather than orders or expectations. He couldn't. "I serve the galactic good," he said weakly. "But do you enjoy serving?" asked Professor Johnson. "Does it bring you joy or is it just duty?" Zephyx couldn't answer. He had never considered whether he enjoyed his service. It was simply what he did, what he was supposed to do. "Come with me," said Captain Drace. "I want to show you something." They walked to another section of the building where a group of human children were learning about space exploration from Lieutenant Kess. But wait, Lieutenant Kess was supposed to be on his ship. "How did she get here?" Zephyx demanded. "She came down yesterday," Drace explained. "After hearing our transmission, she wanted to see Earth for herself." Zephyx watched his navigation officer teaching young humans about star systems, using holographic displays to show them distant worlds. The children were fascinated, asking endless questions and making imaginative suggestions for exploration methods. "This is a waste of time," Zephyx said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" asked Lieutenant Kess, overhearing him. "These children have proposed 17 new approaches to interstellar navigation. Some of their ideas are actually brilliant. Children can't understand advanced navigation. They understand curiosity," said one of the human children, a girl who couldn't have been more than 10 years old. "And curiosity is the most important part of exploration." The simple wisdom of the statement stopped Zephyx cold. When had he last felt curiosity? When had any galactic officer felt the excitement of discovering something new? "Commander," Dr. Chen said gently, "would you like to try something?" "What?" "Creating something beautiful. Just for the joy of creating." She led him to a table covered with strange materials, paints, brushes, papers, and other items he didn't recognize. "This is art," she explained. "Humans use it to express emotions and ideas that can't be communicated with words. I have no emotions to express. Don't you? What do you feel when you look at the stars?" Zephyx thought about it. When he looked at the vast emptiness of space, he felt something. A sense of wonder, perhaps. A feeling of smallness, but also connection to something larger. I feel curious, he said slowly. Then, faint curiosity. It was the strangest request anyone had ever made of him. But surrounded by his former crew members who all seemed happier than he had ever seen them, Zephyx picked up a brush. At first, his attempts were clumsy and frustrating. But as he worked, something unexpected happened. The act of creating something that existed purely because he wanted it to exist felt liberating. Hours passed without him noticing. When he finally stepped back from his painting, he saw that he had created something that looked like stars swirling in a cosmic dance. It wasn't technically accurate, but it captured something he felt about the universe. "How do you feel?" asked Dr. Chen. Zephyx examined his emotions with surprise. "I feel satisfied, but not the satisfaction of completing a mission. Something different." "That's joy," said Captain Drace. "You've just experienced creating something beautiful for its own sake. But it serves no purpose. It serves the purpose of making you happy. And happiness has value." As the day continued, Zephyx experienced things he had never imagined. He listened to music that made him feel emotions he couldn't name. He watched humans and former galactic scouts working together, with enthusiasm and friendship. He ate food that was prepared not just for nutrition, but for pleasure. Most importantly, he began to understand what his people had discovered on Earth. "The humans aren't primitive," he said to Captain Drace as the sun began to set. "No, they're not. They're different. They've developed in directions we never considered. They've found a way to be efficient and happy at the same time. More than that. They've found that happiness makes them more efficient, not less." That evening, Zephyx stood in a human park, looking up at the stars he had spent his life traveling between. But for the first time, instead of seeing navigational challenges and strategic positions, he saw beauty. "Commander," said Tech Specialist Mora, approaching him, "the rest of the crew has come down from the ship. We want to learn about this place." "All of them?" "Yes, sir. After seeing the changes in Lieutenant Kess, we all wanted to understand what Earth offers." Zephyx looked around at his crew, his former missing scouts, and the humans who had welcomed them all. For the first time in his life, he was surrounded by people who seemed genuinely happy to be alive. "Sir," Mora asked, "what do we tell the Galactic Council?"